Right, so we are closely tracking the results of yesterday's key primary elections. In Minnesota, CBS News projects the state's progressive Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, defeated moderate Congresswoman Angie Craig in the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate. But in Wisconsin, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley is projected to have narrowly beat out Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong in the primary contest for governor. In South Carolina, Senator Darline Graham will face Congressman Ralph Norman in a Republican runoff for late Senator Lindsey Graham's seat. Of course, this is his sister who's running. And CBS News political director Finn Gómez is going to join us.
All right, Finn, let's start with South Carolina. Darline Graham has President Trump's endorsement, but it wasn't enough to outright win the nomination in this race. What does that tell her about her influence? I mean, she's got the name recognition, but what are the polls telling you about what could potentially happen in the runoff?
And what are her qualifications as well?
Well, I mean,
great questions, but
none, right?
Well, if you permit, I mean, look. Can I just say one thing before we get to the politics? I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I should be sent to Mallorca.
I know.
I speak fluent Spanish. I got married in Mallorca, by the way.
What?
I know Mallorca.
Why did you throw your hat in the ring?
Let's go. I'm running.
He didn't even know there was a ring.
It's not too late. I can make it in time.
He was too busy covering politics.
On the down low about it.
I know, he went quiet.
It just popped up in Mallorca. That's amazing.
No, but on South Carolina, look, I think those are great questions. I think it tells us in a lot of ways that the Trump endorsement, which is a big factor here, I think it remains powerful in the Republican primary. We've seen that play out in this election cycle, but it's not necessarily the only thing here. And look, if you look at this specific race, she's a political neophyte, as you guys said, and she also was facing a very crowded field. There were 10 people in this race, and she's someone who's never run a statewide campaign before, right? She's not from politics. She had the Trump endorsement, and she has the Graham name, of course, big name ID in South Carolina. Her brother, of course, passed away unexpectedly a month ago. Excuse me. She didn't get that 50% threshold, but now she's facing Ralph Norman. They're going to face each other one-on-one in 2 weeks in an August 25th runoff, and I think it becomes a very different race then. Norman is going to essentially consolidate the anti-Graham, more conservative lane, if you will, while Graham has the ability to consolidate the rest of the field, because you don't have Russell Fry, you don't have Mark Sanford. Some people who these are folks who do that I think she can appeal to their supporters, and I think it's going to be a pretty tight and competitive race.
Can we talk about Wisconsin?
Yes.
I mean, Wisconsin has been wild. I think the Washington Post put it perfectly. This is what they say happened there. Crowley, who ended up winning, initially dropped out last month because he didn't think he could win. Then Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez dropped out the following week because she had some financial reports that were questionable. Then Crowley returned to the race after he got the current governor's endorsement. And then the former lieutenant governor dropped out. But then the two lieutenant governors, the current and former, their names were still on the ballot, even though they'd both dropped out. So this is like so confusing and chaotic for Wisconsin. And then Francesca Hong, who had been polling well, didn't win. What happened?
Well, this is, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Adriana. This was an unbelievable comeback, frankly. I mean, Crowley actually suspended his campaign 3 weeks ago. Tony Evers, the popular Democratic governor, current governor, essentially pulled him back off the sidelines, endorsed him, and helped resurrect his candidacy. And I think, and Evers almost campaigned as if he was running for this seat. So it's not. I wouldn't read this simply as Wisconsin Democrats rejecting the progressive wing of the party. Hong came extremely close. We were up all night watching this race, but I think it does show the power of the Democratic establishment. I think they really set it, put a line in the sand here. And I think when you have an especially popular two-term governor, I think it makes a difference, especially when the main crux of your argument is the electability argument in a battleground state, because Wisconsin is not only important in 2026. It's also crucially important, of course, in 2028.
And of course, Hong had been criticized for some of her comments against things like
100%.
Thanksgiving. And
which went viral, absolutely went viral.
I do wonder, why did Governor Evers not endorse Crowley earlier? Why did he wait until Crowley dropped out?
There was a bunch of polls that came out in early July, mid-July, that showed Hung with about a 20-point lead.
Wow.
So I think at that point, it really caused a bit of a collective fear amongst establishment Democrats, saying, "Okay, we have to jump in this race because if we don't, the Republicans have a good chance of winning in the general election." And I think that's why Evers jumped in and really, threw all his chits in here.
All right, Finn Gómez.
Finn Gómez always breaking it down for us.
Yeah.
And Finn, for the next solar eclipse in Spain,
I better be there.
Yes.
In 100 years.
The three of us.
21, 26. You're there,
It's all
baby.
you, boo.
You're there.
I'll be there.
All
Thanks,
right.
brother.
CBS News Executive Director of Election Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, is here. So I can't get over this Wisconsin race. Break it down for us from your perspective, given your polling background.
Can you calculate when the next eclipse is in your head? Is that?
Well, I was told there would be no math if I became a journalist, but I think it's in 100 years, so I just added 100.
So here's a map, not of Majorca, but of Wisconsin.
Very much not Majorca.
Not Majorca, but lovely,
But
just
Door
the same.
County is gorgeous.
Lovely, just the same.
Can we say?
Okay.
Look, you want to talk about the polls. I think there is a larger lesson or story out of that, which is to say you've got a moving electorate and you've got a moving story. What Finn just described about the popular governor coming in and speaking on behalf of a candidate, in the final week of a primary, you can easily see enough movement to shift things around. It's not like people are thinking necessarily about this all year long. So
I don't think that was our polls, but
It
for her to be
wasn't.
20 points ahead.
it wasn't, and I don't want to speak that much for polls that we didn't do. That's
Okay.
really fair. But at the same time, if there's a narrative out there, if there's a context out there, everybody needs to take a step back and go, wait a second, this isn't necessarily something that everybody in Wisconsin is thinking about all the time. So that late movement could very easily happen. On top of that, as we go into sort of silly season for polling and the election, where you're going to see an awful lot of polls out there, some of them will be from campaigns, some of them will be very small, but just out there sort of getting attention. You really want to pick and choose which ones look like the actual electorate.
So were there any trends coming out of these primaries that give an indication as to where the general might lead?
Yeah, the first thing you're going to hear, especially from a lot of moderate, some would say establishment Democrats, is if I do show you this map of Wisconsin, and the purple areas, thanks to our friends at Vote Hub that made this by town, the purple places are places where Crowley won. And your big takeaway here is that he won in a lot of the suburbs. And these are places, even as you go out from the central city in Milwaukee, as you go out towards Waukesha, and all the way till you get to Madison, which is another stronghold for Democrats there, very liberal place around the university. All these places are places that they'll argue these are the places we need to win in November. This is really where an election overall is won or lost. Now, the progressive side, if they argue that there's energy on their side, they'll say, well, you need turnout in the cities, and these are places where Hong did do relatively better in green here. But it also underpins that larger dynamic of what do the Democrats need to set up to be successful in November? Like the bottom line answer is probably both.
Really
So
fascinating.
so many races that are fascinating. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it.